Now let's now talk climate change, where the Catholic Caritas organization in Nigeria has called on the federal government to do more in combating climate change. The organization, the humanitarian wing of the Catholic Church, made this call as part of its celebration of 13 years of humanitarian work in the country, saying there is a need to initiate the planting of trees, proper management of waste, and incorporation of climate-smart practices in a bid to reduce the devastating impact of climate change on citizens. Marvelous Obomanu has details.
Between 2030 and 2050, climate change is expected to cause approximately 250,000 additional deaths per year from malnutrition, malaria, and diarrhea alone. The direct cost to the health of citizens is estimated to be between 2 to 4 billion US dollars annually by the year 2030. Areas with weak health infrastructure, mostly in developing countries, will feel the most impact and suffer from being unable to cope without assistance. It is in preparation for the inevitable that Caritas Nigeria, a faith-based humanitarian organization, is calling for a robust action to tackle climate change.
Nigeria, climate issues are staring at us in the faces. So we thought that as a church and as an organization that is into humanitarian activities and also care for the earth, we are encouraging people. Of course, all the bishops of Nigeria, the 58 dioceses, the bishops went on an exercise of planting trees. We have set a target, practical targets: plant trees, remove waste, manage waste well, see the things that are inimical to our environment. We try to curb them. So this is where we are headed, and we're encouraging people from the grassroots, from top to bottom, to be all involved.
Each of us has something to do. Everybody has something to do. Just keeping our environment clean, ensuring that, you plant trees and live in Kaduna. And each time I drive between Kaduna and Abuja, or between Kaduna and Kafanchan, and I see the level, the way trees have been destroyed and cut off, I mean, it's alarming. And therefore, in this matter, everybody has something to do.
The organization says it has incorporated climate-smart practices in its interventions.
In our humanitarian interventions as Caritas Nigeria, we always try to incorporate climate-smart practices into our interventions. And that's why if you see from the video that was shown inside, you see so much of the solar-powered boreholes. That is being interventions that is done by Caritas Nigeria. So in many times we try to convert motorized boreholes into solar-powered boreholes so that it is the sun that is being used, not fossil fuel. And then also we incorporate climate-smart agricultural practices in our interventions. So we train our beneficiaries how to produce organic NPK fertilizer, organic urea fertilizer in a sustainable manner. We also train them on how to produce organic pesticides and herbicides.
Marvelous Obomanu reporting for News Central.
Now, to discuss more on climate change, we're joined by Dr. Olusola Adedeji, a lecturer, Department of Geography and Planning Science, University of Ekiti. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us at this time.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. Now, between 2030 and 2050, climate change is expected to cause approximately 250,000 additional deaths per year from malnutrition, malaria, and diarrhea alone. Now, what comes to your mind when you hear of these projections?
Well, thank you. What comes to my mind is simple: tragedy. It's a projection, and when you project below the minimum level. So definitely should be more than this with time. So if you're talking about the cost implications of the inactions of you and I, man, definitely emphasizing the need for immediate and sustainable effort to reduce emissions, adapt to changing conditions, and of course, protect the most vulnerable communities. Now, if I'm talking about human tragedy now, this projection represents a significant human, each of these deaths represent an individual now. It's not an individual now. And if you're talking about individual, we're looking at the most vulnerable now. So if you're talking about that projection, we're looking at that child there in Malawi, that boy there in Congo, that's elderly woman in Nigeria who are the most vulnerable, who we may likely suffer and die prematurely due to the effects of climate change. And if you're talking about this project, we're talking about inequity. Why inequity? Climate change definitely disproportionately affects the vulnerable population. If we're talking about the vulnerable, we're talking about we developing countries now. I mean, a vulnerable individual such as a child or that, like I mentioned before, and it underscores the inequity of the impact of climate change as there are those who are contributing the least. When we're talking about developing nations now, we contribute the least, but we suffer the most. We're talking about inequity in climate change. We're also talking about risk. I mean, interconnected risk. What we mean that the link between climate change and the health outcomes illustrate the interconnected nature of the environmental, social, and the health challenges that will come along this projection. Climate change can actually exacerbate existing health problems and create new ones. Now, recently we had the COVID-19, and research has shown that there's a link between the outbreak of COVID-19 and climate change now. So it will definitely exacerbate existing health problems that we are facing today and create new ones. And I mean, new ones that we don't know how to look like. So it's making it a critical issue of public health and public concern. And this a call for adaptation and an urgent adaptation strategy. I mean, the urgency of adaptation measures, investment in healthcare infrastructures, disease prevention, and food security. Remember, malnutrition. Food security. If we're talking about climate change, please, I always want to refer to developing nations. What will be affected most? Because we don't have those adaptive strategies to overcome it. Unlike developed nations who are actually ready battle it. So if you're talking about this projection, we are talking about tragedy, talking about what will happen to the world, and it's happening already. These are additional death that's going to happen. So the devastating impact of climate change in these years to come will be worse than every other thing that's been happening before, every other diseases, every other healthcare challenges, and so on and so forth.
Okay,
so it's
Doctor,
a call for concerted efforts.
We definitely hope it doesn't get as bad as it's being projected. Now, there has actually been a lot of conversations out there on the impact of climate change. For example, we see forced migration where people are made to leave their ancestral homes, and we also see the insecurity aspect of climate change. Now, bringing it home to Nigeria, what should government and other stakeholders be doing at the moment?
Now, very easy. Invest, 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 and invest. What are you investing in? You invest in infrastructure. Come to Nigeria now. Let me come back home now. You build climate resilient infrastructures to withstand extreme weather events. Extreme events like what we'll be seeing now, the flood, storms, and ensure that critical services like healthcare and education remains accessible. What are we to do to government? Government, there should be awareness. The problem is that people still believe that, even developed nations still believe that climate change is a horse. It's nothing like that. It's just man just to get something to do. It's true. So there must be awareness. So if the developed nations are not even taking it into consideration that it's a mere horse, what happened to the developing nations now? There must be drastic, effective, and efficient awareness. Then emergency response. How prepared are we? Recently, Cameroon said they're going to open their dam, and before you know, there was no response. Before people cried out, before government said, do this, do that. Look, we are in an environment whereby we believe in reaction. No, we are always reactive rather than proactive. So there must be awareness, there must be emergency response. Then let's come to food security now. Climate smart farming. We are in the era of artificial intelligence now. What role has artificial intelligence, what does it have to play in food security? We should key into that. We promote climate smart agriculture, practices that enhance crop resilience, reduce food security, and of course improve human livelihood. Apart from that, the issue of reforestation and ecosystem restoration. Our ecosystem has been badly damaged. If you go, the coastal environment, the Niger deltas, and every aspect of other places in the country, you see that our ecosystem has been damaged. Our ecosystem is damaged, ecosystem services are lost. And ecosystem services are they are due to climate, influences now. So we must look into that reforestation and ecosystem restoration. We are talking of planting of trees now. We must begin to talk to the people. Awareness, plant trees, tell them what climate change can cause. It will be a drastic effort. Apart from that, we must start transitioning now. Government should start transitioning now. We have everything here in this part of the world now. Promote clean and energy efficient cooking.
All right.
Renewable
Thank
energy
you
now.
so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Olusola Johnson Adedeji, for your perspective on climate change and how to tackle, the impact on our environment. We appreciate you for your time.